You cannot afford to miss a single moment of the next hour. Get ready to have your ideas about sexuality, love, and relationships blown wide open. It's time to get educated, entertained, and enlightened, as well as sexually empowered. You have now tuned into the Tantra Love, Sex, and Intimacy Show. Now, here's your host, Tanya Diamond.
I really do think that the beginning of a show, everybody should be laughing at the beginning of a show. And Josh was always awesome at providing that. Josh and Billy,
best to find something in that last moment to help Tanya laugh.
I mean, you know, he's fondling an avocado over here. He's opening an avocado with a pair of scissors.
What will people think of me?
And he's like provided me with some kind of snack here, which is like bananas, a Snicker bar. Bananas and a Snicker bar together.
I'm making a vow to be a little more healthy. So instead of just bringing chocolate, I'm going to bring fruit as well.
Fruit and the chocolate together. Well, that's interesting. All right. So we're here, and it's dark outside. What happened? How did that happen?
Winter, baby.
Yeah, that's bizarre how all of a sudden it was dark. And I don't know why. Why is it that we're thrown by that every year? I mean, hasn't it happened every year since I've lived here?
You mean it's happening again?
Yeah, exactly, right. And every year it's like, wow.
Well, it's the turning of the seasons, and it's how the seasons take us by surprise if we're not living in balance with the seasons. I mean, we can get into the medicine wheel traditions here one of these days, but if we're in alignment with what's going on with the seasons, listening, paying attention.
You're telling me I'm out of alignment?
I'm saying you've been working really hard at the computer, and we don't get as much time outside in nature as we would like.
We spent hours raking the driveway the other day. I think we were out in nature.
I'm talking on a daily basis.
Oh. I mean, there's outside daily? People go outside daily?
And then our body is in rhythm with nature.
Oh, right.
Then we're not so surprised when suddenly it's fall and we don't have all of our stuff together.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm ever going to have all my stuff together. That's part of the fun of it.
In a yearly cycle kind of way. It's a medicine wheel tradition.
Well, you know, I was one of those women that, you know, every month I'd say, my God, why am I so exhausted today? I can't believe I'm so like, oh my God, why am I so exhausted? And my partner would always say, this happens every month. I'm like, oh, really? Why? That's talk about clueless. Anyway, we actually have a guest this evening, and my guest this evening, our guest. Sorry.
Am I part of this show too?
I guess, yeah.
Thanks.
And so is Billy. And so our guest tonight is a very, very fascinating woman that I met at a retreat not that long ago. My Couple Sacred Intimacy retreat. She just came there. I just found her sitting on a couch when I walked in, and very interesting woman, very credentialed woman, very fascinating, and I don't know what gifted, yes, very gifted, and she's gonna introduce herself here in 1 second, and because she has like tons of titles and lots of names and cool stuff like that.
And we want to make sure we get it right.
Right, exactly. And since I'm usually quite a spaz about that kind of thing, I let my guests introduce themselves. And I think we're not really sure what we're going to talk about, which is usually what happens, but I do know we're going to hit on some talking about sex, women, menopause type of thing, which is something I don't think we've discussed yet. So that'll be very cool. And hello, Pema.
Hi there.
All right. Yeah, there you see, you're laughing.
You two are a hoot to listen to. I just loved it.
Thank you so much.
You're like the odd couple.
We are rather odd.
Yes, you're so cute.
Quite odd.
I couldn't believe it.
Thank you so much. So
yeah.
tell us who you are.
Oh my God.
Right.
Well, that's such a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what we're all trying to figure
Right.
out?
Who am I right now or right now?
Exactly. Who am I right now? And there's this recreation, right? As an astrologer, you know, I'm constantly referring to the planet Uranus, the Babylonian sky god who, like the sky, recreates himself again and again, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah. And so we're all in a process of that. And right now I'm in a process of that. You know, I've got, as you say, all of these, you know, tremendous credentials, you know, been a doctor since before there were dinosaurs, you know. And an astrologer longer than that, so that's pretty pathetic.
We're talking a lot. No, I don't want any avocado, Josh.
But
He's trying to lure me with avocado.
Tanya, yeah. I think like a lot of people, I had a very, very wonderful, you know, very conventional credentials and the conventional, very successful career, you know, as a clinical psychologist and author and all that stuff.
What was your name when you were doing that?
Reverend Dr. Catherine Rosemary O'Connell.
Reverend Dr. Catherine Rosemary O'Connell.
It rolls off the tongue really beautifully.
Yes, very nice.
And my Tibetan Buddhist name is Pema Khandro.
Pema Khandro, with a K.
That actually means Khandro is kind of like a Skywalker or a Dakini or an angel.
Very nice.
And Pema is the Red Lotus.
Ooh, Red Lotus Skywalker.
Yeah.
That sounds super cool.
Yeah, it sounds a little like Star Wars.
I know.
I don't know.
I like that. And you reminded me of Yoda, right?
Yeah, I'm really Yoda. I think so. Yeah. Maybe I'm getting older and shrinking. I'll be more like Yoda with each passing.
All that wisdom, Well, it's the wisdom. It's the knowledge that you bring.
Well, and there's this thing that happens. I'm 59. I'm about to turn 60.
Congratulations.
There's this thing that happens in the late 50s of the second Saturn return. The first one happens in the late 20s, and the second one in the late 50s. And the first one is about initiation into adulthood. We begin to look at our parents' eyes and see people looking back, and we begin to feel a little bit like an adult, right?
I haven't hit that yet.
Yeah,
when does that happen?
Your parents were unique.
Even a moment?
I think maybe I had a moment of it.
Yeah, one or two little moments,
right,
little glimmers. And then a little bit of compassion toward the parents, And
yeah. No, I got that part.
The second one is this, initiation into, this kind of crone tradition, this the elder mysteries. Hopefully there's some wisdom, but, that's what I want.
Sometimes there's just grumpiness.
Sometimes it's just grumpiness. So I use both names, and, people sort of gravitate to one or the other. A lot of people have been calling me Pema, preferring the Buddhist name, and I really like that. But I like Catherine, too. I'm very happy with both of them. What's really interesting is merging these conventional credentials with the astrology, which I've done for 46 years, but always sort of was quieter and more on the side. So now I fuse both of them, and, because I don't know that we have time anymore to be sort of keeping something on the side, like in the closet. Like in the closet.
Well, I did my Tantra thing's been in the closet for a really long time.
Really?
Yeah, because I was raised by very conventional parents, and I was going to be a neurosurgeon. I've got a lot of, formal, traditional type of background as well, and I didn't want to be a flake woo-woo person.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, I don't think of Tantra as flaky or woo-woo, but the rest of the world certainly did.
You were in for it.
Yeah. And so it took me up probably, only really owning it in the last 10 years and really, really owning it in the last 2.
Wow.
So I'm right there with you, and we're owning the fact that I've taken, classical Tantra, and we're creating a modern path. We actually, modern Tantra.
Yes.
And, taking it back from just being about sex, but being about life mastery.
Beautiful. And I had the honor of reading some things that you have written recently.
That's right. I sent you my book.
May I talk about that for a minute?
Wow, that'd be so cool. Yeah, talk about my book.
Because I'm so thrilled. And I'm just so proud of you for what you're doing, for your courage, for your integrity. And it's just a wonderful book to read. It's a fast, easy read, which is what we need.
Yep.
But it's very, very rich, and it is what Tantra really is, which is the sense of being alive.
Yeah.
And isn't that what we all want?
Yes. Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just I was so thrilled for you to read it, and your feedback. Thank you so much, because you're actually on the cover of my book as the endorser. So I'm glad you liked it, because that would have been a bummer otherwise. Can I talk about your book, Tanya? There's some problems.
Well, I did a little modeling as a teenager, but I'm a cover girl no more.
There you go. Well, you're a cover girl on my book.
Thank you.
So what do you do with your time these days?
But what's funny is we couldn't even come up with the name, right? Pema.
I said it was like 32 emails to figure out what to call you.
Interesting, though. Now you understand why the astrologer had to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, because
isn't it interesting?
Yeah. Well,
I think be authentic, right? We have to stop the big BS at some point and just be ourselves.
That's right. Well, and that's what Tantra's all about as well, right?
It's what Tantra is all about, and it's what your book is all about, and it is excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
well,
I'm thrilled, and I'm thrilled to be on the cover, and very honored to be on the cover. And I so enjoyed reading it, and I so enjoyed your emphasis on the passion for being alive.
Yeah. Well, that's
what you embody
beautifully.
About.
Thank you. Passion for being alive, yeah. Well, and you got to check out a little bit of my work there at the resort in impromptu healing.
Mm-hmm.
It was fabulous. I was very, very happy to be there. Yeah, like you said, I just happened to be a person on a couch.
Somebody said, "Oh, there's somebody who wants to meet you," and there she is on the couch. Oh, hi, how are you doing? So what are you doing with your life? What's going on? What's your focus right now with all these credentials and all these paths? And
it is making that fusion and that, that stepping in, that finishing that second Saturn return and stepping into, just really being fully who I am and not hiding anymore. So a lot of these things I'm doing, as you know, I do international work on the phone as an astrologer. Also a Jungian psychologist, so you get, Jungian psychologist, astrologist, so I do readings for people all over the world by phone and PayPal. And also I do this, I'm having the opportunity to do this wonderful retreat with Jen Fields, who's wonderful.
Yep, she's the owner
of some women's retreat.
Half Moon Haven, where I did my couples intimacy retreat. That's where we met.
Gorgeous place, right? Of course, right on the ocean. I know, the hot tub and the whole full spa facilities. We're doing a series, actually, of women's retreats, really sacred, transformational. The first one is going to be November 13th to the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming right up.
Yep.
And then the second one, the winter one, is January 22nd to 24th. And that's my birthday. I'm going to turn 60.
Oh, awesome.
The 23rd.
Very nice.
Yeah. And we're going to have a chance to work with women in a number of deep ways. Jen is amazing too. She's trained in the Chinese nutrition, so she knows about deep nourishment. And don't we need to be nourished deeply, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
Well,
aren't we hungry deeply?
Yeah, we've got to bring it all.
Yeah.
We do have to bring it all. I really do emphasize in our number one foundation in our steps in our program is that self, the Tantra of self, understanding how we relate to ourselves means how we relate to everything. And if we can't bring self-love and self-care, then we can't bring anything else to anybody else.
Oh, God, that's so well put, and that's exactly what the weekend is about from the 13th to the 15th, is the self-care.
That sounds fabulous. And, people sometimes, self-care sounds daunting to a lot of people, especially people that are really busy. And I realized the other day that when I'm putting on my body lotion, if I pay attention to putting on my body lotion, if I'm actually enjoying my body while I do it, I'm enjoying the smell of my lotion, how it feels on my hands, how my hands feel on my body. Take a breath, Josh. And
so she noticed I got very silent for a moment.
Because he's listening to me talking about putting my hands on my body.
I'm even taking a breath here, Josh. You're not alone.
I'm a very visual, kinesthetic person, so it's,
And I'm
Keep
sitting,
going, Tanya.
Yeah, and then,
This is radio.
breathing that in and really, experiencing my body and experiencing all of the pleasure and all of that while I'm doing that, that is self-love and that is self-care.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it anyway. I mean, it's something that I do every day. Why don't I actually create Tantra about it? Why don't I take those moments and focus and feel and breathe while I'm doing that? Same with brushing your teeth, taking a shower. There's so many activities that we do mindlessly all the time that we could do in a transformative way to heal ourselves.
Beautifully put. Thanks. You put things so beautifully, and that's exactly the focus of the weekend. And the yin yoga, which is really, really great for women to work on, very, very gentle, receiving.
Wow. Imagine gentle and receiving.
Rather than the yang going out and making it happen. As women, we're having to run around and be very young and run around, make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. We really need a place where it's okay to be nourished, to let it happen, to work on increasing our magnetics and increasing our yin and balance.
And I really enjoy hearing about the yin yoga because nowadays yoga has to be hot, it has to be hard, it has to be, people are almost competing in the yoga studio to get it right, competing with themselves, competing with the other people in the class. And the concept of yin yoga, I'm excited to learn more about that because it's about receiving, not pushing.
And I love it. And so it's very interesting you mentioned that, Josh, because so many of the, I'm also a professor of Chinese medicine, and so many of the Asian healing arts, when they've been brought over to the West, the emphasis was more on some of the yang style. Mm-hmm. And with yoga, too, so often. And this is an emphasis on the yin, and you don't hear about it.
Well, I mean, because it's
about receiving.
It's considered weak, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, we're trying to be overachievers. We're trying to really hit it hard. And now, and I'm, you got to know, I can be as yang as any warrior walking the planet. And the thing that I have worked on most of my training is learning to be in that yin space and learning to be in that space of surrender and surrender not being submission. It's actually surrender is stepping into your power and learning to receive and to give gently, because animals taught me that when I was doing animal behavior work and I would do body work on animals. If I tried to make something happen, they didn't receive it. Whereas when I said, hey, I have something here for you, and then everything changed.
Then they would move into it.
Yeah. So they were some of my best teachers. Wow. So what are you going to be...
You and I should do a workshop together.
Are you kidding me? Of course. Definitely.
We should do workshops for women.
We're doing it.
Let's do it.
We're doing it. So what are you going to do?
You get it. I mean, we got each other instantly.
Yeah, you know? We did. All we did is look at each other and cry. Oh my God.
Well, the yin would be like, it's yang. We go out and we almost grab images, even visually. But the yin way is to receive an image.
Yeah.
Grab sounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yin way is to really receive and truly deep listening, like the deep compassion listening.
Mm-hmm. Now,
we let sound come to us. We don't go out and grab it.
What are you specifically going to do during the weekend? What part?
We're going to do the deep Chinese nutritional therapy, where Jen is actually going to cook and show people, and we're all going to share together the deep level of the physical, nourishment. The difference between just eating and just cooking and truly being nourished.
You gotta
when you eat something, it's truly nourishing, as opposed to just,
right. Well,
you're shoveling something in.
There's a difference. There definitely is a difference, and I know that I am definitely much more of a shoveler. I got to tell you, I love it when people nourish me, like when I'm at Half Moon Haven and Barb is there cooking, and it's the most unbelievable experience on the planet. But I just would never bring that to myself. The time is just, yeah.
That's right. That's why we build it in. We're actually going to have a cooking experience together that's a nourishing experience. We're also going to have the yin yoga. We're also going to do some special meditation and sacred trance dance.
Nice. Sacred trance dance.
We're going to talk about astrology, what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know what astrology is?
Mm.
Ology means the study of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aster, it tells us in the Rig Veda, 10,000 years BCE. It tells us what astrology is. Astrology is the study of light.
Okay.
Ology, the study of. Aster, star. Star means light, and light equals sound, because they both travel waves.
All right, nice.
So we look to the ancient sutras, we look at the Rig Veda, and why? Why do we study astrology? Well, it tells us that too. Spontaneous right action. Wow. What does that mean? That doesn't mean getting stuck in a chart. It means the pure love that rises us above it, because we deeply understand what it is to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you just love to listen to her?
I do. I do.
And she's even more delicious in person.
Now, as a man, is there any way that I can participate
in the women's retreat?
In the women's retreat. I mean, I'll just come and help with the food.
What's your number, Josh?
I'm also a massage therapist, so I can just offer other...
See, he could be massaging the women on...
I can do craniosacral therapy.
You're massaging me. Hey, I'm free. Here's my number. No.
All right, here we got something going on here.
Okay. Change. So Pema, let me talk a little bit about... I really want to talk about women's sex menopause, because we have not...
Can I take a second to finish the answer to your question
go
about
ahead.
the retreat?
Yeah.
We're going to do a very intentional manifestation and dream boards, so very deep soulfulness about visioning. Well, what's coming into our lives, what we wish for, how to do those intentions deeply. We're going to do embodied mantra, to take mantra and put it in the body.
Nice.
And put it in every cell, which is one of my specialties.
Embody mantra.
Yeah, embody mantra.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it into the body. So it's consistent with everything you say about being conscious, just what you said about the lotion, being conscious, being present, being fully there, fully embodying it, fully learning how to really do intention, how to really, really nourish ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and to support each other.
When I think body mantra, I do. I've done sound therapy on people using my my mouth on like a back chakra or something like that, and actually pinging and using sound to penetrate chakras. That's what I think when I think body mantra.
Mm-hmm.
And And there's dances and body movements that go with the different mantras, particularly the Tara mantras, the 21 Tara.
Mm-hmm.
There's wonderful movements you can make with your body that completely, and music that goes with it, that completely brings it into every cell, and you feel Tara in every cell. So you really are Tara.
Awesome. Sounds like it's going to be an amazing thing. I can't wait to
and I'm not telling you anything, because you're a red Tara. Red Tara is the Tara of magnetic attraction, so you're just attract to you. That's what
really
Tantra is, that wonderful sense of being so alive that you just magnetize and attract and it comes to you.
That's why
that's one of the daily practices of the Dalai Lama.
Oh, really?
He has 2 practices he does every day. One of them is Red Tara. And it's one of the reasons so many people just love him, whether they're Buddhist or not. You don't have to be, obvious.
There we go.
He's just so cute,
Me and the Dolly.
Yeah. Yes. Hello, Dolly.
Me and the Dolly, we've got some things in common. I actually was trying to get an endorsement from him on the front cover of my book, but apparently he doesn't endorse things anymore.
Oh,
well,
okay.
you do one, and then everybody wants one.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And we're going to discuss some Tantra. And we're going to do some teaching with regard to the sacred spot.
Awesome. I know women's...
I'll do it.
Yeah, no women's retreat is really complete without women learning about their sacred space.
I knew you'd say that, because you're so cool, because you get it,
Yep.
And that sense of aliveness, as you well know, I'm preaching to the choir here, doesn't ever have to go away, no matter what your age, and whether or not you have a partner, whether or not you're in menopause, whether or not you're not even in the best of health, whether you're, 150.
Well, and we're going to be 150.
Yeah.
Well, here's what really saddens me. I was at a Northwest Women's show, and I had my little booth, and I did a little speech and that type of thing. And women would walk by, and probably 98% of women over 50 that walked by, and I said, "Hey, do you want this free, CD on women and sex?" And they're like, "Oh, no, thanks. That's for younger people." And I kid,
that's so sad, isn't it?
Isn't that amazing? I kid you not. And I was like, no, wait. I was talking about sex. And they're like, oh, yeah, whatever. And so this whole experience, like sex is just for young people, and, once you're over the hill or you're over 50 or whatever, and how many women and people believe that once you hit menopause, you might as well forget it, you have zero libido left, and you're done.
This is why everybody needs to buy your book, because it's about the aliveness and not about sex.
And how wrong that misconception is.
Yeah.
Every age, every place.
Well,
it's a primer on being alive.
Well, I mean, it's like, what are we think that just because we start sagging, everything is gone. Now, Joshua, you have some personal experience, because your last partner.
Yeah.
He's sagging?
Huh?
Only when I'm relaxed.
He's not too saggy. But his last partner is 3 ones ago.
I'm not going there with the visual.
I was in a I think 14-year relationship with a wonderful woman who is, I believe, 65 now. And she ran, aside from vitality-wise, she ran circles around me, but a very tantric woman. And I'm so blessed to be able to say that she recently married a beautiful tantric man, and they're having such a delightful and igniting experience together.
How much older is she than you?
I'm 38.
So you got together when you were in your 20s with her.
Yeah.
So you say you're single now?
I am, yeah.
He's
we
actually,
should talk. I want to know a little more about the Red Tara traditions. Yeah. We should get together and talk.
He's actually, it took a 6-month vow of celibacy too, so.
He's going to sneak on the ferry with you. Come to the workshop,
I'll tell you
or
what,
on the seaplane. He's going to come on the seaplane with you.
Pema, if you endorse me, Tanya won't have a choice but to bring me. Then you and I.
All right. Back to the women in menopause.
You're going to be my demo guy.
You
I'm going to be your demo.
You guys, I'm
starting trouble.
Wow. Okay, let me corral everybody. Bring the energy into.
Is it getting too warm in the room for you, Tanya?
It's always too warm in the room for me.
But Tanya, don't you think every woman and man should know how to do sacred spots?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. And it's the thing that, we teach there's a difference between self-pleasuring and masturbation. And that self-pleasuring and bringing aliveness to your body is so vitally important. And people will tell me, well, I have a partner, I have a sex life. Well, that has nothing to do with the sex life. It has to do with bringing your own sexual and spiritual vitality to yourself. which is, that's what's important. That's what keeps the aliveness. And if women were to do 5 minutes of sacred spot, and that's simply holding their yoni, which is Sanskrit for the vagina, holding even with a static hand over the top and sending the love and sending that sacredness, the world would be a better place. Women would be loving
Absolutely.
themselves. And if men were actually to hold themselves instead of, pull on themselves, but actually hold themselves in safety and in love, that would change a lot as well.
Yes.
So, there are definitely techniques that we teach and techniques that are available to do this. And in fact, I have a men's big package product.
I love that.
The men's big package.
that
Tell us about that.
That's coming out. Yeah, tell us about the men's big package. That's a product that we're coming out with at the end of the month, but it's kind of like the whole, sacred sexuality for men, but including the sacred spot for men and ejaculation mastery and all that. But
I must say, you love to name your products just to tweak me out.
the big. Yeah.
Pema, I have to tell you that for a while, Tanya was producing a V-book. And, every time I heard the word V-book, my mind had this cross combination of concepts. And I'm like, a what? A V-book? Is it a Vajra book? Is it a vagina book? No, it's a video embedded book, Josh. Oh, sorry. Right, I knew that. Yeah.
So every time I said V-book,
so now the
freak
next
out.
product that we're talking about all the time is the men's big package.
So I'm going to keep you guys on track here. I swear.
Oh,
I
sorry.
swear.
What
Look,
was the question?
Women and menopause.
We're having just too good of a time.
I know, and that's fine. So, Josh, you went through. So, did your partner go through menopause while you were together? Or had
She was in menopause already when we got into a relationship. And actually, my partner or lover prior to that relationship was also already in menopause.
So what was that like as a man? Did you find them lacking in any way? Or
No.
No.
Definitely not.
There was still sex.
There was still sex. If there was any conflict, it was emotional and how to approach each other about it, but there was no lack of vitality, sexual vitality. There was no lack of passion. There was no lack of desire. It was, again, learning and evolving emotionally.
And you were a young man
each other.
attracted to these older women.
Yeah, because I think older women rock.
Yes, they do.
You see?
The vitality, the life experience, the love, the ability to adore and value men, even if they're still in their potential state. Yeah.
So, ladies out there, you just heard that. That's the man here with the super sexy voice who's 38 years old, believes that older women, and he's not talking about women that are 25. He's talking about, all the way up there.
All ages, women can be exceptionally vital, sensual. I mean, just recently, I go blues dancing and I do salsa dancing. And just recently, I went to a blues dancing evening, and one of the older women in that group, she and I had such beautiful connection on the dance floor. Now, I'm in a vow of celibacy, and my agenda was to have fun and have a great time. But that woman had some passion going on.
I love that. Why is it we're so afraid of that, Pema?
And she didn't dye her hair.
Oh.
She had beautiful gray hair and just an exceptional woman. So I think women are exceptional.
There you go.
And a lot of times it is the younger men who approach the older women. What is this, cougars and everything? It makes it sound like these predatory older women.
I just found out about that. Apparently I've been a cougar my entire adult life, and I had zero idea about that until about 6 or 8 months ago. Go figure. So
a lot of times it's the younger men, like Joshua.
That are approaching the older women. Well,
attractive and sexy, and what's your number?
Well, and part of it is, something, confidence. Yeah. When we're older, supposedly, see, this is the dichotomy. This is the problem here. So we're older. We have the wisdom. We know what we want. We have the experience to understand that that empowered and sexually confident means something that we don't have in our 20s, and yet the society that we're around is telling us we're ugly. That if we're over 25, we're just, we've lost it. We're ugly. We don't bring it anymore.
Right.
And that's incredibly sad.
It is. Well, as you would say, the Buddhist term is ignorance, and you use it quite a bit, which delighted me. It's very, very interesting that we made these kind of references to Buddhism and the Dalai Lama earlier, because really, it's one of the reasons why those monks look so happy. Why do they look so happy all the time?
They're
those
having
Buddhist
sex?
Monks.
No.
Right?
They're
Like
Buddhist
the Dalai
monks.
Lama?
They're not having sex.
Because they know how to work their inner channel.
That's
and
right.
so the white Tantra, the inner Tantra, is working the channels. I was celibate for many years myself. I have a deep Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhist practice. And the working the inner channels, what's called the red and white feast, the red and white channel, and running that energy makes you very blissful. It stimulates the neurochemicals in the brain, the happy chemicals.
Right, so we tend to think of sexual energy or sex as something that is done with a partner. What we're missing is the fact that the chemicals, the sexuality, the bliss, the arousal. I talk about being aroused and, not just in our genitals. That's my big thing. We should be an arousal of life. Yeah, they look thrilled, happy, and young because they're running their personal sexual energy.
That's right.
Through their bodies.
Yeah, the white Tantra is also called the inner feast, the red and white feast.
Yep.
And it is the classical Tantra, which is not as it's been often interpreted in the West, not about intercourse, but about that inner love that produces the running of the energy, the inner feast, and the sparks off the neurochemicals of what? The waves of bliss.
Yep. So spiritual bliss, ecstasy, arousal, it's all there. And it has nothing to do with a partner. It has nothing to do with how you look. It has to do with how you experience your body. And I talk about Tantra being igniting your internal flame with yourself. And if you are your own best lover, and lover, when I use the term lover, I'm talking about lover in a grand sense. I'm talking about lover in a spiritual, not just lover in your body, but lover in a spiritual sense. Like, how do you love yourself is how you love the world and the universe, and how you do that is how you do everything.
And that's what this women's workshop weekend is all about.
Something that I noticed about being attractive, what age people are, and being aroused by your own being. When someone's aroused, there's a spark, there's a light, there's a glow within that is just attractive. It's magnifying. And when someone's in a foul mood, in a negative mood, they can be, 18 and have that swimsuit, magazine body. But if they're in a foul way with their energy and with their disposition, that, at least, to someone with a little bit of consciousness that I'm learning, is repelling. Whereas someone, no matter their age or what have you, if they have that practice of loving self and maintaining their own vitality, there's an amazing just connection and draw that people have to that person.
There's a spark. And
that's the magnetizing energy, the red Tara energy.
There it is, the red Tara energy sparking.
In the Buddhist tradition, very similar to the Native American tradition, you have a color and a direction for each color. And the red is the magnetizing for the West. The magnetizing.
See, and I always have west-facing houses with west-facing views.
Wow.
Because I love the red color of the sunsets, which is why I live in Seattle.
Yes.
Because the clouds are so amazing, and I love the colors. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a little while. You get to hear more of whatever stuff it is we're talking about.
One of the 40 million sexless couples in the U.S.? Are you wondering why having sex leaves you feeling lonely? Are you suffering from the myths of sexual dysfunction? Do you know in your heart that there has to be more than what you're currently getting out of making love? To rid yourself of sexual ignorance, get more out of your lovemaking, and find out more about spiritual sexual connection, then you need to check out www.thetantrateacher.com to receive your free copy of the ebook called Secrets of the Tantra Teacher. Don't suffer another minute without the sexual loving and ecstatic bliss you were born to receive. Get to www.thetantrateacher.com right now. That's www.thetantrateacher.com.
Is your sex life non-existent? Do sexual dysfunctions leave you soft? Is internet porn getting more than you are? Or are you paying more attention to porn than your partner? Have you tried talk therapy and it got you nowhere? You are not alone. You can be freed from sexual shame, guilt, and dissatisfaction. A visit to the Tantra Teacher is in order. Call now and mention you heard the Tantra Teacher on the radio and get a very special offer. Stop waiting for a miracle and call right now. 206-276-2735. Phone consultations or in person will get you the information you need to be successful in your love life. But you have to call now. 206-276-2735. Stop making excuses. Call the Tantra Teacher. 206-276-2735.
And I'm back, and we're back, and I would be laughing, except that nobody made me laugh.
I already gave her the chocolate.
Okay, so, all right then, fine, oh fine. I guess we don't all have to laugh all the time.
I have to give you the chocolate right before we go back on air?
Right, exactly.
Right, okay.
In that special way that you give me chocolate.
Ooh.
What are you, peeling bananas?
Hey, just do the radio show. I'm playing.
Oh my God, what he's doing to this banana! Oh my God, it's obscene. I don't know if it's supposed to
about the
talk
banana
about that
stories right now
on the radio show. Oh my gosh. Anyway, we are here talking with our friend Pema, and we're talking kind of, I don't know, these two, between Josh and Pema, we're not, I'm out of control.
Plans,
I'm out of control at this show. I mean, I'm usually in control of my show, and this is completely out of control with these two. They have something going on here, and they're gonna have to take it off the air. That's all I have to say.
We're wild.
They're wild, crazy.
We're a dangerous
people.
crowd.
And Josh knows how to handle you. Man, he gives you chocolate before coming on the air. He's a smart man.
And what's really funny is that I am not even a chocolate fanatic, and he knows that. I run enough love chemicals through my body.
Right. She doesn't like chocolate, and I say, here, try this.
Yeah.
Chocolate's tame compared to Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
Chocolate is tame compared to me. That's quite true.
Well, what did I call you in my endorsement? The Shakti Queen.
The Shakti
Nice.
Queen. I know. Thank you. I know that was
Isn't that wonderful.
That was quite something. I was like, wow, thank you so very much. Do you know? Speaking of astrologers, do you know David Pond?
I know him a little bit. I admire his work very much.
Yeah, I would think you guys would just. He is so tantric, and
I'd love to meet him.
Love that man. He gave me a fabulous testimonial. Just in general after meeting and stuff. But yeah, you guys would very much like each other. He's here in Olympia, not too far away from here right now. So definitely look him up sometime and say, hey, Tanya says we like each other.
Ooh.
So yes, definitely would. So, okay, here's this thing, this whole women menopause, women getting old, that kind of thing. When I hear women say, oh, yep, I'm going to go through menopause and my libido's getting low, and part of this is that, like everything else, if you don't use it, you lose it. And, when Josh has taken his vow of celibacy here, and part of it is, he doesn't get to just shut down and, not think about sex and not be aroused and just do that.
I get to use it as much as I want.
Right. He gets to be in his arousal and experience his arousal and still be celibate and channel that energy in a different way. So I think what happens is, women, we just kind of fade out or something,
Yes, we need to learn how to run our inner channels. So use it or you lose it is an interesting expression. What I don't want to convey with it is the idea that you have to use it by having intercourse.
Right,
If
exactly.
you're choosing not to have a lover, not to have intercourse, you can still use it by running your inner channels in a number of ways. And self-pleasuring and enjoying your body, like you were doing that wonderful description at the beginning of the show about slathering on lotion and all this. And
Well, I mean, the other thing is that I always remember in the morning, when I'm waking up by myself, I will actually do a body gratitude wake up, which is just basically rubbing, checking in, touching, feeling the texture of my skin, kneading, all of these different things, but just really experiencing my body. Good morning, body. I'm so grateful to have you. Wow, that feels nice, and it's warm here, and that's kind of squishy here, and that feels great over here, and it's okay, Josh. And
I just rest my forehead against the microphone at these moments. Morning, dark,
wonderful.
warm here, squishy there. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm going to breathe. I'm just going to breathe in a moment here. I'm going to breathe.
Oh, my God.
And,
But,
and
you know, as a Jungian psychologist, in addition to doing a lot of astrology with people, I do a lot of dream work, of course, that kind of goes with the territory. And a lot of times, if we stop paying attention to those instinctual parts of ourselves, the animal in us, you know, because your description was beautiful. It kind of sounded like, haven't you ever had a cat or a dog?
Yep.
They're always grooming themselves in the morning, right?
Yep.
And the cats are kneading their paws
Yep.
against the carpet or against you, maybe even, right?
Yep. Yep.
And so there's that instinctual part, and if we stop paying attention to it, sometimes we'll have these kind of wild animal stuff show up in dreams, you know?
Yeah. No, very true, very true. And I like
some animal coming to devour us or something, and it's that part of us a lot of times, right? That we've ignored.
Right. We know we have to take those, we have to live in pleasure, especially women, you know, and I say that especially women because I think men can actually bring that a little bit more. Sometimes women tend to get in their heads, and especially if we're single moms or not, or, you know, menopause, single, whatever, we're just kind of like not loving ourselves enough. I've got a cough, so Josh, you got to talk.
I get to talk now. Well, part of the cultivation, I think, as we get older, is a combination from the men's responsibility in learning the tantric concepts is how to caress, how to be in grace, how to be in gratitude. So, you know, one of my greatest learnings is taking my arousal and not having to freak out about it as a man and get right to the sex. In any relationship, being able to, with my hands, just honor the skin of my lover. And so if I'm doing a wake-up ritual, my priority, my focus isn't let's get to have some sex before we get up. It's just touching each other and just enjoying each other to get to that place of enjoying being alive and waking up.
And connecting energetically.
Absolutely.
There's a wonderful exercise that I'm sure you're aware of one partner lying on their left side and the other partner kind of spooning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just aligning energetically. And particularly the one who, let's say, has more energy, being on the outside, almost recharging the one on the inside. Like
right.
It's a wonderful exercise.
And is that with holding the hands on the chakras or just holding each other?
It's wonderful when the hands are held in the chakras.
Yeah.
We should try it, Josh.
Absolutely. I have to confess, for many, many years, I'd pass out. By the time I got to third chakra, I was passed out. So, I mean, was that because I had blocks or I just couldn't handle the energy? Whether I was giving or receiving, I'm out cold by third chakra. Wake me up in 10 minutes.
So, well, it relaxed you so much, huh?
It really did. I mean, I've done a lot of energy healing and training, and if I'm not standing when I'm doing healing work, I'm liable to pass out.
Oh.
And, you know, I've trained myself how to move through that in a different way. And, you know, want to do cranial sacral therapy, which is a wonderful and deep and gentle therapeutic technique where you're just, you know, gently cradling someone's head and using different hand positions. As the client starts to go into a deep healing state, oftentimes they fall into a deep healing sleep. And what I found as a therapist is oftentimes I do also. So
are you telling your clients on air that you fall asleep on them, Josh?
We'll clarify that in a minute.
So they say Freud fell asleep sometimes. Who knew?
Yeah.
They were lying down. He was sitting.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe that's why.
The first time that happened, I was in so much judgment about myself. I would sort of wake up as my body would begin to lean forward. And I would feel terrible that I was so tired and falling asleep during this client's treatment when they were already completely asleep. And I figured I wouldn't charge them, but by the end of the session, I said, just ask them how the treatment was, because I was asleep through most of it. And when I left the room and the client got dressed and I came back in and asked, how do you feel? She says, wow, that was probably the best treatment we've done so far. And I realized the more I got out of my own way, the more effective I was.
There is that. Thanks for you guys for,
You're welcome.
Look at that. I think the swine flu hit me.
Stop it. It was the 3-minute flu.
It was the was the chocolate.
Send that little piggy to market.
Right.
It was the chocolate. He tried to poison me so he could have the show all to himself.
Hey, Pema and I had a good time, and we already decided we're making a date to do some chakra balancing.
Right. And I love craniosacral therapy, by the way.
Oh, wonderful.
You guys.
Wonderful.
You guys. So I was on some bent about pleasure.
We talked about pleasure.
Did you talk about
we talked about how wonderful the technique or ritual of spooning and holding each other's energy.
Right. No, I'm not talking about pleasure in self. Like,
okay.
So what happens if everything that you spent money on actually was pleasurable? Down to things like your pens. Holding a pen that gave you pleasure, whether the color or the texture of it.
You're talking to a man who likes shoes, so, Shoes, your clothes, what you drive. One of the things that we deny ourselves as women is pleasure. Have to be practical.
Yeah. We buy things for other people. We shop. We do that kind of thing. And then somehow if we're not something, like we're not worthy of having things that give us pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to do more of that because that's one of those first steps in starting to break out of the whole feeling, dried up.
Right.
Dried up, old, useless.
Because the fountain within hasn't been cultivated and kept alive. Even as little girls, little girls start to get excited about things in life, and they're told to calm down.
Right.
And in our country, I think there's very little education on the sacred spot.
Well, there is
on the yoni.
Well, especially at that age.
Right. Well, at any age, at the moment, the parents are teaching little girls about puberty, about their menstrual cycle, and then talking about the birds and the bees, if they talk about the birds and the bees.
What is it, the birds and the bees?
The things that happen in the springtime when everything gets excited and filled with vitality, okay? So
yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
It's that area of, from a very young age, when the sexual vitality first opens as a flower until we get to an older age when we no longer consider it a flower.
Well, and I was going to say, everything that I've read about menopause is all the symptoms of menopause are actually not natural. Menopause is natural. The symptoms of menopause are actually your hormones out of balance. And
right.
Christine Northrup writes about that. Yeah. A lot of people write about that, but very few people are on board and understand that. And so women suffer with vaginal dryness. They suffer with the low libido and all that. Excuse me. And none of that has to be valid. And so
there's some wonderful ancient natural techniques. One of them is moon bathing for women.
Mm-hmm.
Actually regulates the hormones.
Nice.
Getting outside, spending time outside in the full moon.
Yes,
the full moon.
I love that.
I love that idea.
Dedicated actually to Kuan Yin. It's an ancient Chinese medicine.
Yeah, and so if you can't bathe in the moon, which is a really great thing to do, it feels really great. You can actually feel it. It's very interesting to feel that. But
just sitting next to a window and letting the full moon, shine on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for those people that think that's a little too far out, the place you should be checking out are things like bioidenticals, bioidentical hormones. Checking out doctors who do that and look into that, because just a tiny little bit of here and there balancing your hormones will make you feel like a rock star again.
It will. There are some chants that really help, too, regulate the hormones, and some things we can do with our diet. Like, for instance, did you know how great safflower oil is for the body and how it helps regulate the pituitary gland?
Nice. Safflower oil.
Wonderful oil to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So.
Some chants where you can send the sound up into the skull, resonating into the skull, really stimulate the pituitary.
What does that sound like?
Begin to regulate and balance all the hormones.
Do you have one of those sounds for us?
Mm-hmm.
Can you sound for us? Give us. Yeah, that buzzed my head.
I love that.
Yeah,
was that cool or what?
Buzzing right in your head.
Yeah, I did. I was like, wow.
And we've got headphones on, so we're not even listening to the radio. We've got headphones on. So we were in stereo for a moment.
Woo! That was buzzing my head for sure. I like that.
Yeah, that went right in.
That was fun. That was
the other thing, a lot of times that women need to kind of watch during menopause is they need to kind of watch what they eat at night.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of cut down on the alcohol and fatty foods at night,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll find that they sweat and less at night, and they won't wake up at night.
Right.
So a lot of the what's going on with the body is that the liver's trying to give us a break by cleansing itself.
Mm-hmm.
If we keep giving the liver so much work to do by giving it so much fat and so much wine, particularly at night before we go to sleep, then it's working so hard at night to cleanse that it creates that sweating, the night sweat, the getting up at night.
Mm-hmm.
So just giving it a break
Well, I found
and
that
letting it do that job is really essentially burning out impurities that had built up over years.
and that makes sense because I found that I had started drinking some tea, some black tea, which I usually don't, throughout the day, and I was having so-called hot flashes.
Yeah.
And when I stopped drinking, and I thought, well, that's weird, and I stopped drinking the tea, and that was gone.
Really?
Yeah, it was it was
Were
really
you having
strange.
that at night or?
No, during the day,
During the
like
day?
mini during the day, and then occasionally at night.
Mhm.
And I was only drinking like 2 to 3 cups of tea a day. I stopped all of that, and boom, it was all gone.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that was pretty astounding. Now,
It is.
you know, I'm starting down that path. I'm 48, and my last period was in July.
Okay.
And it's been kind of interesting, you know, this is part of why I'm reading of all this. I have not found my libido to have dropped at all. In fact, I've found it to actually have stepped up. Of course, now I think it might have to do with who you're partnered with.
You know, that kind of has a contributing factor. And, you know, I mean, I'm okay to say it. Your partner, he's pretty darn hot.
Well, yeah, there is
And maybe
that.
that's not the point that you made, but
No,
he's
it's
attentive,
how-
he's
it's-
adoring,
right.
and he approaches you in so many wonderful textured ways in a relationship that if somebody's having a relationship that has texture and variety and you know, the man has masculinity, but he also has a quality of touch that appreciates the feminine, then yeah, there's going to be a lot more going on in our lives, in our bodies, and our feelings.
So if we're in unhappy relationships, or we're single and unhappy about it, because I don't mean single means unhappy, but if we're unhappy about being single or in bad relationships, we're going to have some problems. So these are things to think about. We've got 3 minutes left. Pema, I'm going to let you go ahead and give us some contact information, both for you and for this women's retreat that's coming up, if you would.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot. For the women's retreat, which is the weekend of November 13th through the 15th, it's here's the phone number, 604-908-5366. And shall I give you an email, too?
Yeah, and give us that number one more time.
It's Half Moon Haven. Yes, the number is 604-908-5366.
Excellent.
Half
And
Moon Haven.
where's
the email
the
is halfmoonhaven@yahoo.ca.
CA?
That's halfmoonhaven@yahoo.ca.
Excellent. And halfmoonhaven.com is their website.
Yes, halfmoonhaven.com is the website, and it's a gorgeous retreat center in the Sunshine Coast of Canada.
Okay, and give us your contact info, because we only got 2 minutes left here.
Yes, I do international consultations with regard to astrology on Skype, and my contact information is, here's my email, Raven, you know, like the bird, R-A-V-E-N, Raven4848 @yahoo.com.
Okay.
That's Raven4848 @yahoo.com.
And do you have a website or anything anybody can look at?
I do. I'm also the Chancellor of Interfaith Seminaries, which is an international distance training program in interfaith ministry. And it's interfaithseminaries.net.
Okay.
Interfaith Seminaries, spelled as one word, plural. So interfaithseminaries.net.
Awesome. It was really great to have you here, and I know we'll have you back again, because I know we're going to have a great relationship.
And I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for your endorsement on my book and for enjoying it. We've got 1 minute left here.
Thank you so much, Pema, for the pleasure of meeting you and getting to play with you on the radio.
You guys.
Thank you, Josh. You're hot, and I love you.
Thank you so
What do
much.
you like about that? The love fest. And so they poisoned me, so I was off the air
Right,
for
we
a
got you
while.
off the air for a few minutes so
Right.
we could talk about the Tantra
I'm
that we're going
telling
to practice.
You
Yes.
guys are awesome, and your book is awesome, too.
Thank you so much.
Bless you and the work you do.
Thank you so very much,
you.
and we'll talk to you again soon. And everybody else, thank you very much for supporting us and listening to us, and all the great emails and phone calls I get about how much fun you're having hearing this information. We always welcome your emails and your questions, whether I'm on Facebook, Twitter. You can follow me either place. And, of course, learningtantra.com. Get there, look at our workshops and all the amazing things that we are doing, including our new men's package.
Prepare yourselves for the men's big package.
That's coming
soon. Go ahead and send us an email or get on our list and say, I want to know when the men's big package is coming out.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Bye now.